Hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Bipolar wife cheated and is now on her second failed marriage with child involved. I, 26 male, met my ex, 27 female, back in 2017. Knew her since 2010, but only through mutual friends, when she reached out to me via Facebook. She said she had a crush on me since high school and was recently divorced and wanted to know if I was interested in a date. I took her up on the offer, and we fell in love shortly after, or so it seemed. She had a daughter from her previous marriage who was about 2 years old at the time, and we bonded almost immediately. The father was absent, according to her, and wanted nothing to do with her, and slowly over time I became more and more of a father figure to her, and now I'm all she knows, and I am raising her as my own. The trouble started when my ex told me she was pregnant 3 months into the relationship, even though she was supposedly on birth control and had her tubes tied. I roll. She lied to me about taking birth control, and after much heated debate, we decided to keep the baby and do the best we could. This stuck out as a major red flag at the time, but I loved her and forgave her for the lie anyways, because I'm a frickin' moron. Our son was born on July 18th, 2018, and we got married, funded by her parents, and it was a huge event. A year later, and moved into our marital home, which was provided to us by her parents. We paid rent, which went towards the mortgage. Our marriage started to become a bit rocky because I noticed how abnormally my wife would react to the smallest things. She would get in these moods where something would cause her to explode in anger and storm off into the bathroom with her phone, and I would have to leave her alone to cool off for hours. Me looking at her the wrong way is what would cause this sometimes. Literally, anything would set her off. It was insane. One night, we got into a huge argument because she had blown all of our savings and had nothing to show for it, nor any explanation as to why she did it. She ended up cutting my hand open that night with a mirror shard from a mirror she broke during the fight. I have never threatened her or put my hands on her in any way, shape, or form. This incident is what made us take her to see a psychiatrist, and she was diagnosed with bipolar II disorder. Years pass, and she seems to be more stable because of her medication, but she's different now. She's cold, distant, and never seems to want to go out like we used to. Sex stayed pretty stable, about once a week, and I kept my mouth shut after trying multiple times to talk to her about how I felt like she was avoiding me, to which she denied anything was wrong. She quit her job to voluntarily become a stay-at-home mom, and I worked full-time and took care of the children, cleaned the house on my off days. Even though she was distant, she would still remark about how much she loved me and how she was satisfied with our relationship. It all comes to a head about 3 months ago when she starts a new SSRI and starts burning through our savings, leaving me at home with the kids while she goes on abnormally long midnight dog walks and starting arguments only to leave the house for hours at a time. She puts a new lock on her phone and starts waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and text for hours. When I ask her about it, she freaking explodes in anger and storms out. She blocked every female friend I had on Facebook. I was loyal to her 100% and never even looked at another woman. And one night, I come home to an empty home. No wife, no kids, and a letter saying she's divorcing me because she's unhappy and has been for a long time. She tells her parents she wants a divorce because of the arguing around the kids, which I agreed wasn't okay. And she told me it was because she was unhappy. Her parents, while heartbroken over the divorce, in her own words, I was the only man she'd had that they liked, go ahead and pay for the lawyer again for her second divorce in 7 years, involving another child and another soon-to-be ex-husband. We signed papers, no alimony and child support for my only son because I never adopted my daughter officially, during which she puts on an Academy Award-winning performance, crying as soon as I walk in and repeatedly claiming she wants to throw up. Meanwhile, I'm trying not to cry, but I just lost it and ugly cried the entire way home. My ex called me and told me she wanted to work on herself and then hopefully reconcile later. My heart was broken, but I was trying to be optimistic and didn't want to lose her, so I agreed to reconcile. I pick up our kids for the first visitation and ask my daughter how her week was, and she tells me that my ex has a new man sleeping over at the house already. We literally signed the divorce papers 5 days prior. She then told me that while we were still married, this man was coming over and having sleepovers with my ex while I was at work. I'm absolutely devastated, and I feel like I've been manipulated this entire time and wasted 5 years of my life with someone who never actually loved me and just wanted someone to support her. My kids are already having a tough time with the divorce, and she already has her affair partner around them. I'm disgusted and heartbroken. Edit. She acted incredibly guilty during the divorce, and I think I understand why now. Whoever this new guy is living with her right now, and while it isn't my business, She explicitly told me that the divorce wasn't because of someone else, and she really needed me to understand that. It was a crock of crap. I was used by this woman for 5 years, and every time she went into a fit of hypomania, depression, I was there to pick up the pieces. Let's see how the community reacts. Reddit Avenger says, "Yeah, she sounds like someone who suffers from mental illness. Not that it makes it any better or easier, just that she should probably not be married to anyone. I know it's very hard, but at this point, you need to let her go completely so you can be unemotional and focus on your kids. They are going to need you." The OP responds, "Yeah, she's like a completely different person now. Our relationship really wasn't healthy, but I thought things would get better. It was my first marriage, and I was naive, I guess." Reddit Avenger comes back with, "Maybe. I got to the point when I was dating that I expect good, and if it wasn't, then I just passed. It's so rare that unhealthy, as you call it, get better. You have to start with really good, so the times when it's bad, it's still okay. If your relationship is a benefit to you overall, you're better off being alone." The OP responds, "I mean, I get this line of thinking, but it's different when you're in it and children are involved. When you're being gaslighted into believing that things that you know were not okay were okay, then you start to question your own reality. She may have a mental illness, but it still hurts like hell." On to the next story. Wife cheated on me with a coworker she calls her mentor and father figure for 7 years. I had a teenage romance, I am now 30, with one of the girls from school. It finally culminated to a beautiful marriage 2 years ago. I had not been completely loyal to her during my early 20s and had a fling with one other woman. I felt terrible and guilty. I confessed that to her within a week. She was very upset and angry. She got hold of the other girl's number and ranted it out on her, saying that I was two-timing and she should stay away. But she forgave me, or so I thought, very soon, maybe a week or two after. After that incident, I never had the courage to doubt her or check her phone, etc. Whereas she used to do that often and allowed it, thinking it takes time for someone to trust even after they have forgiven you. I had the guilt of my cheating continuously attached to my soul for so many years, until 2 months back. There were many red flags that were there which I ignored. Finally, 2 months ago, I confronted her about her mentor manager, with whom she had been working for 7 long years. I asked her if something had happened. She violently first denied it and tried to put the argument towards me that, "You have cheated on me doesn't mean I have cheated on you." Finally, after a lot of asking, she accepted that she has just kissed the guy during her vulnerable time. When I cheated, that was 6 years ago. She started crying out after seeing my reaction and again went back to saying, "I have not done anything. You were forcing me to say something, so I said that." By this time, I was convinced that she had done something. I asked one of her friends who has been with her in the same organization, and she also mentioned this, that everyone in the office could see they had a thing together. The discussion between me and her continued for 2 more months, with constant fights. She accused me of falsely accusing her for cheating. Finally, 4 days ago, she accepted that she had actually kissed the guy and kept on promising that she never did anything else and it happened only once. Now I know this, that they were in constant touch until I brought up this matter. They used to chat, call, since it's her manager. In 2019, just after marriage, she was on an on-site deputation and the same manager was also there in the same hotel for about a month. Whenever I used to doubt her, she also used to aggressively defend, "He's like my father. He has been my mentor. How can you even think about something like this?" There are many more instances, but the post is already long. I don't know what I should do. Our first comment comes from Hola les amigos. From this post I gather the following. She cheated on you after you cheated, and then continued cheating for the past 7 years. Maybe she already cheated on you before you cheated. The father figure thing is just BS to manipulate you. She probably gets off on the power dynamic and calls him daddy. Just leave. The OP responds, "The most painful part is that her father, with whom she was very close to, passed away when she was fairly young, around 16 or 17. Still, he kept on calling her that. Even today, after accepting that they had kissed, she says it was her fault and not the so-called father." Hola les amigos says, "I'm sorry dude, but it seems like she developed some issues after losing her father and developed some kind of attachment to this guy. It is still her fault though. She lied to you by omission about kissing him for the past 7 years. If she was really guilty, she would have told you and changed jobs and cut contact. And let's face it, they probably had sex and it continued after that. It's very hard to reconcile and fix the relationship because it seems like she isn't going to be honest and will continue to trickle truth. You can spend the next few months snooping around at the cost of your sanity, or cut your losses here and move on. You both don't have children with each other either. The truth will always be much worse than you ever imagined. The only way reconciliation is possible is if she is completely honest, and unfortunately, she isn't. She is continuing to manipulate you and gaslight you. You know deep down that they have been probably having an affair for a long time. You don't need to uncover evidence to justify yourself getting a divorce. You know enough. You will never find out the whole truth because she isn't going to tell you. Next comment comes from Cosborn40. That's because she is terrified of you going to him and finding out the real truth. That it wasn't just a kiss. That it was much, much more. If she pinned anything on him, you'd go to him. And he'd probably be a lot more honest than she is. Her father passing away would have nothing to do with her deciding to have sex with another man. That's not sad. That's sick. Calling someone your father and then sleeping with them? This isn't a tragedy here. This is sick. Everyone has tragedy in their life. Like people who love someone with all their heart and then that person sleeps with a coworker for years. I don't feel sorry for her. I feel sorry for you. And she's obviously played up that daddy angle to sucker you even more. Our last comment comes from Player No More. If you want her to say it, I would ask his wife if there were any problems in her marriage due to your wife. If you have no connection to his wife, threaten your wife that you will have a conversation with her manager's wife. A 7-year affair. There's no way she would not fall on her sword to save his marriage. Just mentioning speaking to his wife may have her demanding a divorce. A few-week affair, and she might throw his marriage under the bus. 7 years with a month in a hotel together, she's not letting you go anywhere near the affair partner's wife.